Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be putting together my reading plans for July. I am going to be using my TBR Machine website that I made that generates random reading prompts to pick some of the books off my TBR cart. But firstly, let's just talk about some books that are on my TBR for different reasons. I do still have these two books that I borrowed from my sister. I was hoping to get to them in June. I didn't, so I guess they will have to carry across into July. I'm excited to get to both of those. I do also have a book from the library, and that is Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the second book in the Six World series. A couple of months ago I read the first book, Trail of Lightning, and I really loved it. It is a post-apocalyptic fantasy, but heavily inspired by Native American mythology. Our main character, Mags, is a monster hunter, and I love her, so I'm super excited to get back into this series. So I've got that to read. I do also have a few books up here that are related to a library reading project that I'm doing that I won't go into, but I've got a few books to read already before we get into picking some books with the TBR Machine. Oh, I do also have still this book, The Burning Stone. It was on my June TBR picked with the TBR Machine. I haven't decided whether I'm going to try and force myself to still find the time to read it or whether I'm going to put it back on my TBR. I did also haul some books this month, which I'll do a separate haul video for, but my plans for getting to TBR 0 were definitely not progressed in June. Anyway, let's pick some books to read in July using the TBR Machine. So the first prompt is going to be, read a book written by a female author. That should be easy. In fact, it's actually hard because there's too many to choose from. Like, what I like about the TBR Machine is that it limits my choices and makes my decisions easier. Okay, what about if I just put this onto my July TBR because The Burning Stone by Kate Elliott is a female author, and I do want to read this because I have the following 4 books in the series on my bottom shelf of my TBR cart, which is books that I can't read until I read other ones. This is like an epic fantasy with lots of different people fighting over the throne. You've also got dark elves and dragon people and dark magic. And I'm really interested to see where the series goes next. Okay, then the next prompt. Read a book by a New Zealand author. So if you don't know, I'm from New Zealand. I don't actually think there are any books on here that are by New Zealand authors. However, in my haul pile over here, I did pick up a couple of New Zealand authored books recently. So I think I'm going to go with From a Shadow Grave by Andy C. Buchanan. Andy's a really great author. I believe this is like a ghost murder mystery, but semi-based on a real event that happened in Wellington in New Zealand in the 1930s. Also, it's really short, so that will make up for the big thick one that I just put on there. Oh, also, I'm hoping to do 2 readathons this month, which I haven't planned the TBRs for, because the first one is Becca's Bookopoly, which is a 48-hour readathon, and most of the reading prompts are not going to be announced until the actual readathon, so I can't prep for that. And also, I want to do the Reading Rush, which is a week-long readathon, and they haven't announced their prompts either, but if I put some tiny books on my TBR, then I think that will help. Okay, so let's just pick one last prompt. Read a book inspired by mythology. Okay, so this is another spoiler for my book haul. I'm going to go with Guardian of the Dead by Karen Healy. So this is another New Zealand author, and I believe that this book includes Maori mythology. I don't know much else about it, but I am excited to read this, so I will put this on the TBR too. It's a very New Zealand author heavy TBR, which I like. Okay, so then these will be the 4 physical. That's not true. These ones too. Okay, so this will be my main TBR for July. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. I always say it seems achievable. Will it be? We never know. Also, I'm still ignoring that secret project up there. That's a problem for a different day. Also, I don't know how I'm going to fit in the readathons. But anyway, those are the books. I do also want to talk about briefly some of the audiobooks that I have to read in July. So in July, firstly, I have The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I don't know much about this except that it is a fantasy by a black author that a lot of people have been raving about lately. I hate the way that in this app it's really hard to get to the title screen. In fact, they've changed it recently and I have no idea how to get there anymore. Game of Thrones meets Gladiator. 1 in every 2,000 women has the power to call down dragons. I mean, really, that sentence there is enough to make me want to listen to it. Then I also picked up the audiobook for Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. This is a standalone novel, or at least at the moment it's a standalone novel in his bigger Cosmere, which I want to read all of. I think this is the one where there are 2 sisters and one of them has kind of been raised with the expectation that she's going to be married off in order to keep the gods happy, but then at the last minute her father decides that she's the favorite and instead he's going to send his other daughter, who he doesn't really care as much about, and so she has to go and marry this god with no real preparation. Everyone I've seen talk about it really loves it, so I'm excited to read that. Oh, I still also need to read Dragonskin by Anne McCaffrey and Todd McCaffrey, which is like the 17th, 18th book in the Dragons of Pern series that I'm slowly working my way through. I was meant to get to this in June and I completely forgot about it. It's only the ebook, not the audiobook. I'm always really bad at fitting ebooks into my reading. Then I also have a few audiobook holds that will hopefully come through in July. So firstly, I have An Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon. I was actually looking for the audiobook of The Deep by Rivers Solomon, but my library doesn't seem to have it. And I saw An Unkindness of Ghosts. And honestly, I really liked An Unkindness of Magicians, so I was interested to see what a book with a very similar title would be like, even though obviously it's probably nothing like it. So it looks like we're following a girl who works on this spaceship that's been transferring humanity to the Promised Lands, another planet I presume, but she's one of these people who work on the spaceship that are treated essentially like slaves, but now maybe they're looking at starting a civil war in order to sort that situation out. Sounds interesting. I do also have a hold on White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. A lot of people have been talking about this lately. I have a few holds like this on my list, but a lot of them have very long hold lists. This one says only 3 weeks because there were 2 different narrators available for this book. One of them has like about 1 billion holds. This one doesn't have quite so many, so we're gonna try it and hopefully we'll learn something. I also have a hold on the audiobook of Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. So this, I believe, is a dystopian, but a dystopian that's not really that different from our real world. There is this brother and sister. The sister has amazing abilities that allow her to destroy cities. She's trying not to use them because they're quite dangerous. However, then her brother gets arrested and she has to decide whether to use her powers in order to try and save him. I've seen a few people talk about it and say it's really great, so I'm hoping that I will like it too. And the rest of my holds will take way too long to come through. So that's my reading plans for July. Do let me know if you've read any of these books, whether you think I'm going to like them. And check back at the end of July when we can talk about what I thought about them. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're doing well and I will see you next time.